Shoes, the best and getting better.
Well, there's a look at that last play. The ball actually kind of handcuffed Willie Randolph. He ran it into a short hop. It bounced off his leg. Then he had time to still get him, but he threw it down in the dirt by Cooper. But here's a great heads-up play by Darrell Porter. He's there to keep it from going in the dugout. A nice little one-hopper to Robin Yount. Says, come on, all I got to do is make the tag, and they get him by 20 feet.
In the 6th inning now, it's Ray Knight of the Cincinnati Reds who takes over at third. Can he reach his spot? And the new pitcher, another Dodger. After we saw Welch, we now see Jerry Royce, who, of course, pitched the only no-hitter in the majors this season a week ago Friday against the Giants at Candlestick Park. And were it not for a throwing error by Bill Russell, it would have been a perfect game. 6th inning, American League 2, National League 1. And Darrell Porter comes up for the first time in the game, who made the alert play, backing up, looks at a strike. 0-1. This might have been the last place Darrell Porter thought he would be, Howard, in late March and early April in the All-Star game.
Remarkable story, too. In the vogue, perhaps, of Bob Welch. His rehabilitation. Men coping with life's problems and finally coping successfully. The highest kind of courage.
Porter fouling it away, and so the count holds at 0-2. Jerry Royce, reborn in a way.
Yep.
Sent to the bullpen, back in the rotation now. A swing, and down he goes. So Porter strikes out. Freddie Lynn downstairs with Bob Ueker. Bob?
Thank you very much, Al. Just a moment ago, a 2-run homer for Fred Lynn in All-Star game number 6, and they get bigger each year, don't they, Freddie?
Certainly true, Bob. It sure gets tougher to hit in these games. Guys are getting tougher every year, but I enjoy coming.
You got a slight hamstring pull. What's the story?
Well, it's bothered me a little bit. I was kind of questionable before this game, but since the fans voted me in, I felt kind of obligated to get out there and play.
Back up to you.
All right, Ueker, as Buddy Bell stands in. 0-1 the count on the Texas third baseman.
Since the fans voted me in, I felt obligated to play.
That's what you like to hear, Howard.
1-2 the count.
There's Joe Lasorda, Tom's wife.
You know one thing, she's a great cook.
I know one thing. She could have made a better marriage. It's all right, Tommy.
Down goes Bell. So Jerry Royce has struck out Porter and Bell. Quickly, 2 gone in the 6th inning. And Tommy John will bat for himself. Jim Rice and Reggie Jackson. Rice, of course, unable to play because of the injury. Reggie coming out in the 5th inning. So TJ, in his second All-Star game, fouls it back. 0-1 the count. Tommy, interestingly enough, has not been in an All-Star game since 1968, even though he was named to the teams the last 2 seasons. 0-2.
How about that for a triumvirate? Brett sidelined with an injury, a hitter in the manner of Rod Carew, Jim Rice, and Reggie Jackson.
How'd you like to start a new franchise with those 3?
They are a franchise.
We could hit 3, 4, and 5. Half swing, and down goes John, and Jerry Royce makes it look easy as he strikes the side out in the 6th inning. So at the end of 5 1/2, it's still 2-1 American League.
This camera is not for everybody. This is for somebody who likes the best. Naturally, I have one. A single lens reflex that will focus itself with sound waves. It's just plain hard to take a bad picture, but then who wants a bad picture? You view right through the picture-taking lens, and the camera automatically hands you a beautifully sharp picture, even in close. No other camera can do that. Polaroid's SX70 sonar. This one's mine, but they have one for you.
You still catch Turner the old way, with strong pulls and strong arms.
Let's take 'em home!
But now Now comes Miller time.
When it's time to relax,
Time for the best tasting beer you can find.
one beer stands clear.
America's quality beer, Miller High
If
Life.
you've got the time, we've got the beer, Miller beer. Come on, people, one and all, everyone can use a little armor. All protective, beautifying, most of all, it's satisfying. Armor All. Once it's sprayed, gets done inside. Helping things last is why it's applied. Come on, people, one and all, everyone can use a little armor. All protective, beautifying, most of all, it's satisfying. Armor All. Armor All.
Dodger Stadium, the 51st All-Star Game, still in the twilight. The lights really have not taken effect as yet. The American League on top, 2-1. Two-run homer by Freddie Lynn in the fifth. Ken Griffey countered with a bases empty shot in the bottom of the fifth. And we go to the bottom of the sixth inning.
Well, in the middle of the picture, a once young gentleman who grows increasingly handsome, Elton Rule, the president of the American Broadcasting Companies. Right behind him, Jim Spence, our senior vice president of ABC Sports. Got to look at these men closely in the nature of our business. One is in permanent job imperilment.
Bill Russell, look at this strike. 0-1. Little tapper hit back to Tommy. Then he throws out his ex-mate. So Russell is gone. One down in the sixth inning.
With the Cincinnati Reds.
And Ray Knight is the batter. Hitting for the first time in the game and batting in the number 9 spot. When Royce came in, they put Jerry in the 7th spot in the order. Ray Knight, the story well chronicled. Sat on the bench for a while at Cincinnati. And of course, Pete Rose was ahead of him. Rose goes to Philadelphia. Knight responds with a tremendous year in 79. And hot again in 80. Batting .289. 0-1. Grounded to the hole and through into left field for a base hit. So both National League hits belong to the Cincinnati Reds. The homer by Griffey and now the single by Knight. Ray at first base. One down. And Phil Garner.
He's been a remarkable player, Al. Knight, taking over as he had to. The position vacated by Pete Rose. Answering to the pressure immediately. Having a fine season, and this year having another one.
Knight at first base as Garner fouls it away. 0-1.
Incidentally, when Ueker was talking with Johnny, he didn't have a chance to congratulate Johnny, his parents, Teddy and Kate Bench, their 40th anniversary tomorrow. So we will take that opportunity now, John.
1-1. Probably celebrating in Binger. There he is, JB. John with a token throw over.
There's an American League umpire down the right field foul line. His name is Rich Garcia. More on that in a moment.
Hit sharply. Randolph can't backhand. It goes through. Knight will stop at second. Al Bunbury getting it back in. So the National League with runners at first and second, one away. And George Hendrick of the St. Louis Cardinals coming up for the first time, and Earl Weaver of the Baltimore Orioles making his way to the mound to talk to Tommy John.
Well, you talked about players and you talked about Freddie Lynn, Howard. We heard him say that he felt he was obligated to come, that the fans had voted for him. And, of course, I think another kind of touching story, the umpire down the right field line, Rich Garcia, has had some problems in his family with his young daughter.
Well, his daughter, Dina, underwent surgery, curvature of the spine. She's just out of intensive care and recovering. And it hasn't been that easy for Rich Garcia to carry through with his duties. But we're happy to learn it's turning out so well.
So another fellow, Don, has had some problems. Lee Wire himself physically.
That's right. I saw Lee here in the press box prior to coming up into the booth tonight, and he said he hopes that he's going to be back pretty soon. We certainly hope so.
In the meantime, the National League is getting to Tommy John.
George Hendrick rips it into right center for a base hit. Maybe two. Ray Knight comes in to score. Garner will go to third. It's a long single, and the game is tied.
Watch this swing by George Hendricks. Here's what makes him such a good hitter. That ball down and away, he just goes right with it. A good shot up the alley right center field. Knight coming in to score all the way. Garner very heads up as he ends up at third. Here comes Earl Weaver, and that could be all for Tommy John. It will be all. Stephen Farmer throwing, Al.
So Weaver on his way out to make the change. The American League 2, the National League 2 in the bottom of the sixth. We'll be right back.
At Century 21, we're making things happen.
When we were transferred, we needed facts about financing in the city we were moving to.
Our Century 21 agent called another Century 21 agent here in our new city. She told us about assumable mortgages, seller financing, everything.
Buying or selling real estate? Call your Century 21 agent today for this booklet, Alternative Financing. At Century 21, we're making things happen.
And we'll give our word to you.
Right guard knows that in equally active situations, men and women don't perspire equally. Men perspire more. That's why men count on right guard.
Coming on in the bottom of the sixth inning, the move made by Earl Weaver, who has made a lot of moves tonight and a lot of moves that might be second-guessed.
That's true. I remarked when he put in that bevy of substitutions earlier that he was diminishing his power, especially in the outfield. Now he's got Jackson out of the game, Lynn out of the game, Rice sidelined with the injury, and he's got all those lefties in there against Royce.
Well, I think every all-star manager will tell you, you can't please them all. You can either play to win with your best or try to get everybody in. There's a man who's become an institution in Los Angeles, the peanut vendor.
Yep, famous
from
guy.
all angles.
On the other side of the coin, going back to Dunn's pregame talk with Weaver, he made it clear he wanted to get everybody in. So this may be his whole purpose.
Mm-hmm. You'd love to get everybody in, and you'd also love to win. Somewhere along the line, why things just might turn out that way, or might not turn out that way, I should say. And right now, why the American League lead is tied, and it's in jeopardy.
Runners at first and third, one out, and Dave Winfield pops it up in foul ground. And it will land and bounce in the dugout. 0-1 the count. Phil Garner, the go-ahead run, is at third. And there's George Hendrick, who drove in the tying run at first, held aboard by Cooper. 2-2 tie in the bottom of the sixth inning. Infield double play depth.
I think Ed Farmer falls into that same category that we've talked about with Rich Gossage. Of course, Farmer with the White Sox, and their pitching coach Ron Schuler has said that, first of all, they're using him now only like in the 8th and 9th innings if they can just keep it right there. But for the first time, he's been a leader, and he's not necessarily a follower anymore.
He's been around. It's an interesting story with Ed Farmer. Been in professional baseball since 1967. Nondescript career, really. And this year, everything perfect. Bouncer, Randolph can't handle it, gets away from Willie, everybody is safe, and the Nationals have the lead.
That ball hit out on the end of the bat. It was hit hard. It short-hopped Randolph. Willie, you see him make that play many times, but it just came up on him, and when he ran it down, he had no chance whatsoever. There it is again. That ball slicing a little bit, comes off the glove, and by the time he does retrieve it, they get nobody. National League on top, 3-2.
Ran a difficult game for Willie.
They give him an error on that one. They gave him the error before when he threw it by Cooper, as Keith Hernandez bats for Steve Garvey and looks at a strike. His teammate Hendrick at second. Dave Winfield aboard at first. Hernandez hitting .323, co-MVP with Stargell last year and the batting champion. 1-1. Ed Farmer, 6'5", 210-pounder. One and two.
Boy, he's got a nice swing.
He's beautiful. National League batting leaders, of course, Reggie Smith started. Templeton is not here. If he's not starting, he's not departing, according to Gary. Cromartie's not here either. But Hernandez at the plate right now, tied for third. 2-2.
Of course, Farmer involved in that incident with Al Cowens, and the law courts now involved.
Foul at the plate. You're hearing about that one, I think, for quite some time, perhaps. Of course, Farmer last year hit Cowens with a pitch, sent Al to the hospital. Next time he faced him, Cowens now, of course, with Detroit. Easy ground ball, and instead of running to first base, went right at the Farmer. Suspended for 7 days.
And a criminal complaint subsequently filed.
2-2 pitch. Shot back off Farmer, and Yount will have to hold it as everybody is safe to load him up. Hernandez sharply back through the middle. Farmer just getting a piece of it. And Keith is aboard and happy.
That ball was hit hard. Howard, you talked about injuries in all-star games, and here could have been one here. Look at that ball. A line shot, and he just did get a glove on it. Now, Robin Yount's going over by the bag at second base. Has to stop, reverse his direction. All he can do is eat it and hold the runners right where they're at. Bases loaded, still 3-2 National League.
Only one out. The National League with Pete Rose coming up in a position to break the game open for the American League. At the moment, at least, a continuation of the disconcerting trend of so many years.
Pete Rose batting for Stearns. The bases loaded. Taking high. That's a moment to remember just there. That's the first time I've ever heard Pete Rose cheered in Dodger Stadium. That's a first. Infield up at first and third. Double play at short and second. As Rose hits a bouncer down to Randolph. Willie over to Yount. One and back to first. Double play. So Rose hits into a double play to end it. But here in the sixth inning, the National League comes up with a couple of runs. 4 hits.
This ball hit off the end of the bat, and Willie Randolph made a fine play. That ball wasn't hit that hard. He has to charge in front of the runner. Just backhanded flip to Yount, but Robbins got an excellent arm. Look at that, flat-footed, and they just get Rose to double him at first.
So after 6 complete innings of play, the National League on top, 3-2. All right, let's go to Howard.
All right, I am with the gentleman who is the president of the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee, Mr. Peter Oberoff. Very quickly, Peter, you go to Moscow shortly, and there you will recommend 1, maybe 2 demonstration games for the Olympics, which allow such. What will you be recommending?
Well, Howard will recommend baseball right here in this stadium to be part of the 1984 Olympic Games.
And the other would be tennis.
Tennis is a possibility, too.
Now, will there be any change with regard to the flag closing ceremonies? Have you tried to change President Carter's mind?
We've tried to change his mind because we think that in that one instance, it's an Olympic ceremony. It'll signal to all the people in the free world that the Olympics are coming here. We're going to put them back on track again, and we're going to be proud of the games here in L.A.
But he is not changing.
He's not changed his mind as of this date.
Finally, will this Olympiad in '84 cost the taxpayers of the United States any money?
Not a penny. This is the first time it's going to be handled totally in the private sector. And we'll also recommend in Moscow that all future games be handled by the private sector in every country to avoid the politics.
If you can make that work, sir, you've executed a miracle. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Howard. Thank you.
Okay, back to Al.
Well, new pitcher for the National League as Jim Bibby having a sensational year. Look at those marks. 11-1, including the victory in the 20-inning game the other day when he came out of the bullpen Sunday to beat the Cubs in Pittsburgh. He takes over as we go to the 7th inning. The National League on top, 3-2. Trying to continue the domination and make it 9 straight as Robin Yount leads off in the 7th. 1-0. Keith Hernandez staying in the game. He's at first base, and Dave Concepcion. There he is, the new shortstop. And the new catcher is Gary Carter from the Expos. 2-0 the count. Gary Carter, third man back of the plate for the Nationals tonight. Bench starting. Stearns in there for 3. And now Carter. Hits a right field. Winfield fades. Dave has room. 1 down. One out, and Willie Randolph coming up. Bibby's been around. We talked about Farmer and how long Ed has pitched in pro ball since '67. Bibby, an up and down career, having a great season in '80. Jim's been around, and this is his first All-Star game.
Jim found himself the second half of last season. Proved himself in the World Series.
Did a magnificent job as Randolph rips it into right center field. That's his second hit. Hendrick gets it back in. So Willie tonight with 2 hits and 2 errors in the American League with a total of 7 hits in the 7th inning. As Cecil Cooper comes up.
The one error that doesn't register was the pickoff at first. That probably killed a big inning for the American League.
An eventful night for the Yankees second baseman with good speed as he takes his lead at first. And Cecil Cooper coming up. Good to see the Brewers getting some attention. It's a team that has excited a lot of people, and we don't have to tell anybody in Wisconsin. But as far as national acclaim and publicity, relatively unknown.
Yeah, that's so true. And you've got to believe that if the Yankees just falter a little bit and Milwaukee can continue to play their steady ball, if their pitching just gets a little, maybe a little sounder, it's going to be a dogfight. It's not over by far.
Well, you're touching on the very valid point that Ben Ogilvy made in that piece we had at the beginning of the telecast. When interrogated by Keith and Al yesterday, he said he thought the players should select the All-Stars because the Milwaukee market gets outvoted by the Los Angeles and New York markets.
There's a bouncer to short. Concepcion shovels to Garner. Back over to Hernandez. Double play. In the 7th, no runs, a hit, nobody left after 6.5. Nationals 3, and the Americans 2. As you look at Mrs. Bibby.
Attention to the commissioner's box, and baseball welcomes the Attorney General of the United States, the Honorable Benjamin Civiletti.
He's a great lawyer. Hope I get done in time to make a pit stop.
Now pitching.
We're at the party.
Where is the tent?
It's right in behind here.
New pitcher for the Blue Jays, or for the American League from the Blue Jays. We'll take a look at Dave Steve, the only Toronto representative on the team. Good-looking young pitcher, and another change for the Americans at second is Bobby Gritch of the California Angels. Takes over for Willie Randolph there.
Steve's another remarkable story, Al, as you know.
Converted outfielder.
Was playing the outfield a couple of years ago. Now look at it.
Pitching in the All-Star game. As Ken Griffey stands in. Griffey had the National League's first hit. Home run in the 5th. 0-1 the count. By the way, a lot made of the selections, of course, and we've been touching on that. Every team has to have at least one representative. And Steve here for Toronto as Griffey loops it into right field, and Ken is 2 for 2. Landreau getting it back in. So
this
Ken
is
Griffey.
Dirty Griffey.
Dave Concepcion.
Our man with a couple of hits is Dave Concepcion. Comes up. So Griffey, a couple of hits tonight, and he's 3 for 3 in overall All-Star appearances. Concepcion batting for the first time in the game. Chuck Tanner. Pirates winning it all last year, so the manager from the previous year's pennant winner, Weaver and Tanner. Runner goes as Concepcion fouls it away. 1-2 the count.
Al, I think one of the big keys about Steve this year is that he's kind of developed his curveball and his changeup. And he's got some pitches to go with that fastball. He's a comer, and right now he's in his first All-Star game.
Bouncing ball down to Gritch. To Yount 1. Robin back to first. Not in time there. Concepcion legging it aboard safely as you look at Delia Concepcion. Davey reaching first on the force at second. So Dave Concepcion aboard. Here's Bill Verdon, the Houston Astro manager. First base coach tonight is Gary Carter. Comes up.
That'll be one of the few times that Verdon will pat Concepcion on the seat of the pants.
You bet. A lot of strange sights that you'll only see in an All-Star game.
That's right. They go back to war in another couple of days.
Steve driving Concepcion back, and Cooper making a nice play.
He showed you a good move, too.
He sure did. He whipped that ball over, too. It was closer than it looked.
Bottom of the 7th. Nationals ahead 3-2. Again, the quick move to first, and Concepcion going back in, standing up.
Davey can't get too far off there. He has just got back under those tags. Boy, what an asset that is for a pitcher to have a good pickoff move and have confidence in it.
Another asset for Steve in this particular situation is I'm sure Concepcion has not seen him before. That one gets away from Porter, and Concepcion will advance to second. So that's one way to get down there on the wild pitch.
Here's a tough pitch for a catcher to handle. That breaking pitch down in the dirt, you try and get there and block it. You see that Darrell kind of lifted his head just a little bit, and then that's all that happened. The ball just got by him, and Concepcion's at second base.
One out of the 7th. 1-0 to Carter. Grounded fair and fielded by Bell, whose strong throw gets him, and Concepcion remains at second. All right, a visit with Tommy John now. Let's go to Bob Ueker.
A rough outing coming back to Los Angeles, TJ.
Well, I had fairly good stuff, but you know, a lot of times when you get out there like that, you tend to throw a little harder than what your game speed is, and you know, you get hyped up, psyched up, and I was throwing some nice straight fastballs down around the knees, and one bad hop there on Gardner's ball, and we could have been out of it, but I've been hit harder.
Back up to you, Al.
All right, Ueker, as Ray Knight checks his swing, taking the pitch, 1-0 the count with 2 down. Concepcion at second, bottom of the 7th. 3-2 National.
I thought Tommy was a touch nonchalant.
2-0 the count.
I think that's probably the one thing for any department in this game of baseball, and it'll happen to the pitchers. You get in an all-star game in front of a sellout crowd all the time, and sometimes you do. You get trying to throw a little bit harder than you actually should.
Inside, ball 3. That's an excuse you'll sometimes hear, too, in championship series competition and certainly in the World Series.
That's right. Especially all-star games and World Series. If you can't get up for these, Al, why, I don't know. I don't think you can't get up for anything.
Tell you, one fellow I hope gets in tonight is Alan Trammell of Detroit.
I do,
Boy,
too.
was he excited. That That one is ball 4. Gets away from Porter. Concepcion will go to third. Take a wide turn there and then hold.
Johnny McNamara, you can see where he was down that third base line. John was an excellent third base coach when he was over with the California Angels, and we'll look at this pitch again. That ball just sinks, and that actually handcuffs Porter. That ball really sunk. And now Darrell has to get on it in a hurry. Here comes Concepcion around. Now you don't even see McNamara. He is way down the line. He's letting Concepcion come as far as he can and says, that's all. Hold it right there, pal. Good work by Johnny McNamara.
Porter charged with a pass ball, so runners at first and third, 2 down. Phil Garner takes outside. Porter having a tough night.
Darrell saying, man, I haven't caught many sinker ballers like this, maybe. Steve has got good action on his fastball. You can see that last. Darrell, it just hit him on the top of the glove. It never got him on the front part of the glove.
1-0 on Garner. Good breaking ball.
But you know what's funny? Take an all-star catcher like Darrell Porter. You look at Concepcion at third and over at first, Ray Knight. Give them another inning. That's all they need. Don't handle them like they've been catching them all their life.
Swing and a miss. 1-2 on the Pirates' second baseman.
He keeps it down, I'll tell you.
Keep that breaking pitch down there and that sinker down there, and you're going to win some ball games. Steve, right now, record is 7-6. I don't know whether that's indicative of the kind of pitching that he has done all year long. A good ERA of 3.10.
Knight goes. Garner takes inside. The throw goes through, and then Grich goes back to third, but Davey is back in safely as Knight is in at second.
That was a heads-up play by Bobby Grich. They didn't have too much of a chance to get Knight. Bobby just came up in front of the bag to cut off the throw as we look at it one more time. And he's hoping that Concepcion is going to come down a little bit into no man's land where they can get him. But they can't. Davey just bluffed a little bit and got back under the tag.
The count on Garner is 2-2. And this one gets away from Porter. Another run will score. Concepcion toes the plate to make it 4-2 as Knight advances to third. So Steve has good stuff tonight, but too good for Porter.
Now this appears to be a breaking pitch down and away. Darrell's got his glove turned the wrong way. And now all he's got to do is try and run it down. You know that Concepcion's going to score. He's got to try and hold Knight at third.
4-2. National League. Tom Bergmeyer of the Red Sox in the bullpen. 3-2 pitch. He walks him. So Steve walking Knight and Garner back to back after the American League pitchers had not yielded a walk to this point. And George Hendrick of the Cardinals comes up. Figured out, how would you like to have Hendrick, Dave Kingman, and Steve Carlton win co-MVP? That'd be some press conference, wouldn't it?
I don't think you'd have any.
They send Garner, pitches outside, the throw going through, not in time as Knight holds at third.
Bobby Grich arguing just a little bit with the second base umpire, Nick Colosi. Bobby trying to convince Colosi that he got him up in front of the bag before he reached the full impact of his slide.
Clearly safe. Tagged him late.
He's there. Good call by Nick.
National League pulling out its tricks.
Fouled away. 1-1.
You know how far out in front he was of that pitch? He hit that ball pretty good and hooked it back up over the dugout.
Look around Dodger Stadium. Hard to believe it opened in '62. The place is still immaculate. Two and 1 to count. Joining Bergmeyer, there's the Goose. Rich Gossage of the Yankees, the right-hander. Line to center field, but Bunbury is there and makes the catch. The inning is over. They pick up another run. And at the end of 7, National League leading 4-2. Back with more of the All-Star game after this word from our local stations.
Watch out, America, for great new...
Down from the helicopter, the largest crowd to ever watch a game in Dodger Stadium. And what a beautiful shot. It's a gorgeous ballpark. Don, of course, you played here so many years. They do a marvelous job year-round. Bruce Sutter in the pitch. The winning pitcher in each of the last 2 All-Star games will try to get the save in this one as he comes in the 8th inning. And the other change for the National League, the sole representative from Atlanta, Dale Murphy, now in center.
Well, Tanner's getting all his people in, and yet seems to me he's handled his personnel very effectively.
Al Bunbury, the batter. 1-0.
The only man that's not in the lineup or has played is Jose Cruz of the Houston Astros. So he's got one more regular on the bench.
1-1. Chuck's going to come out smelling like roses if he wins the game and gets everybody in.
That's the ideal trick.
Yep. Pretty tough to pull off. 1-2. We say everybody in, everybody outside of some pitchers, of course. Steve Carlton worked on Sunday. Ground ball to Garner. 1 away.
From the Minnesota Twins, right fielder.
And the welcome up on the new board. We thank you.
That last inning became suddenly untidy for an all-star game. Porter having all that trouble with Steve. But on balance, it's been an interesting game. Now, we face the American League the same dilemma.
Kenny Landreau fouling it away, 0-1.
This is Kenny Landreau.
He had 3 triples the other day. I asked him why not 4. He said, I didn't get up the 4th time.
He's got that kind of confidence. After his 31-game streak was snapped, he said, I'll just start another one.
0-2 the count. He thought he should have been traded straight up for Carew. One and 2. National League leading 4-2 in the 8th inning. After the American League had jumped out to a 2-0 lead, the homer by Freddie Len in the 5th. Ken Griffey homering in the bottom of the 5th. The Nationals adding 2 in the 6th. And 1 in the 7th. 1-2 pitch is hit foul outside first. Al Oliver will be up next.
You won 2 All-Star games in a row, didn't you, Don?
Yeah. One at Anaheim, and I think the next year it was at Houston.
You're the only one besides Suter. And that graphic was interesting on Landau.
To right field and into the corner, but Dave Winfield gauges it perfectly to make the catch. So Landreau becomes out number 2 as we see it again.
He got that ball out on the end of the bat, Howard, and he hooks it down the line with those big, long, loping strides of Dave Winfield. He gets over there and he makes the play with ease.
As most sports fans know, Winfield was the most versatile athlete at the University of Minnesota. Could have played professional basketball, and that elongated grace that you just saw is the evidence of his athletic ability.
Al Oliver of the Texas Rangers. Texas swing, and it's outside.
Well, this guy's done it in both leagues, Al. He's 3rd in the American League and runs batted in with 58. Perez 1st, Hebner 2nd.
Interestingly, neither man is on the American League All-Star team, Tony or Richard.
I think you would just have to classify Al Oliver as a pure hitter.
Full count. Did it for many years, of course, for the Pirates. Full count. Garner will handle this one. And Bruce Sutter has a 1-2-3 inning. The Americans gone in order. After 7.5, the score remains the National League 4 and the American League 2.
Look at yourself. Program full of pictures and stories of the players, as well as the colorful history of America's tradition. Send your name and address and $3 to All-Star Program, Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles 90012. You'll be glad you did.
The preceding was brought to you on behalf of Major League Baseball.
National League 4, American League 2, bottom of the 8th inning upcoming. And right now, let's take a 5-second pause to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
Action News follows the game on KVUE-TV, Channel 24, Austin.
Here's for the American League. New pitcher, the Goose, coming in. Rich Gossage. 3 wins and 13 saves, and hot of late. From the New York Yankees, there's the sole representative from the Oakland A's, Ricky Henderson. Good young outfielder. 1 of 3 possessed by Oakland. And there's our man, Alan Trammell, maybe the most excited of all the players to be in his first All-Star game from the Tigers, taking over at shortstop.
As he put it today at a luncheon, this would have been my senior year in college.
That's right.
And another change, his teammate, Lance Parrish, takes over for Porter, back of the plate.
Attention, please. Now pitching.
Dave Winfield,
From the New York Yankees.
reaching on an error in the 6th inning in his only previous at-bat, coming up in the bottom of the 8th. National League on top, 4-2.
At shortstop. From Detroit, Alan Trammell. In left field, from Oakland, Ricky.
Right after the game, they'll announce, as they annually do, the most valuable players. You take a look at former President Ford, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn.
And earlier, we met the Attorney General of the United States, General Ben Civiletti.
Dave Winfield of the San Diego Padres facing Goose Gossage. Bottom of the 8th inning. Slow number foul. 0-1. It'll be interesting to see who the MVP is.
Well, the guy that drove in the go-ahead run has been George Hendrick.
But Ken Griffey was the guy who ignited this ball club.
Steve Stone was perfect, but his team's losing.
It is going to be interesting.
Hit to right field. Landreau coming on and makes the play. Kenny Landreau of the Minnesota Twins got a good jump on it and makes the catch for the out. 1 down.
Well, Kenny Landreau is used to these Southern California skies. He's from right here in L.A. That ball is a tough play because it's slicing away from him, but Kenny, an excellent outfielder, makes a fine play. Well, you look at it again. That ball moving away from Landreau, got an excellent jump. Out number 1.
Keith Hernandez of the Cardinals takes a strike.
Well, his father taught him to hit. Did some job.
0-2 from the Bay Area. He and Kenny Reese, both from the San Francisco Bay Area. 1st and 3rd with the Cardinals. Part of a pretty good offensive machine. Dad still gives him batting tips occasionally when he gets into a slump, which is not very often. 2-1.
Sun setting over the mountains, just beautiful.
3-1.
Now you see a panoramic view.
Hernandez strokes it down the line and left, but foul. 2-2 the count.
He's beautiful the way he hits it where it's pitched. You know, Don?
I haven't really seen that much of Hernandez, just a little bit. But what I have seen, you've got to be impressed with the young man. And I'm sure that if you played with him and watch him every day, why, you're really impressed.
To left, Henderson moving in and makes the, did he? No. Jerry Dale out there to make the call.
He had him called out, Al, if he holds on to it. But I think his impact, why, it rolled out of his glove. Excellent try by Henderson. That ball slicing and dying on him. He gets the glove on it. Little short hop.
Yep.
And there it rolls out. And they give him a base hit.
So Hernandez is 2 for 2. And Dale Murphy of the Braves. His first trip to the plate.
Interesting the way the Braves have come alive. Even as the Mets have in the National League pennant races.
After that horrendous start.
A few clubs that have come alive.
This kid is 5th in home runs in the National League with 16.
All you have to do is ask the Houston pitching staff about Atlanta. What a series the Braves had offensively against the Astros. To deep left field. Henderson going back into the corner, and it's foul. So Murphy with the distance, but it hooked. And it's 1-2.
The Goose is saying thank you. He got a breaking pitch over the plate. And the National League just about put it out of sight.
That's an interesting graphic. Hasn't allowed a home run to a right-handed hitter this season. He came close.
1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 away in the 8th. 2-2 now on Murphy.
Ball rolling around behind home plate on Parrish. But I got news from Mr. Hernandez at first base. You better get about halfway there because Parrish has a gun. He's got a howitzer.
Murphy a number up the third base line. Kicking foul. And the count holds at 2-2. Once again, it's Bergmeyer. Tom in the American League pen.
Tell you that last Monday night game, the Yankees against the Red Sox, when Gossage threw his heat. Wow. Tony Perez never saw that last strike to end the game.
2-2 pitch, little squiver off the end of the bat. Cooper looks at second and then makes the play himself at first for the out. And Hernandez advances to second. So 2 down. Tonight, immediately following your late local news, ABC News Nightline. Ted Koppel examines the crisis in the American auto industry, featuring reports about President Carter's Day, activities in Detroit and Tokyo, the 2 leading automotive centers in the world. That's tonight on Nightline. Ken Griffey with a home run and a single, a base hit here, and Ken might put away that MVP trophy. But he hits a fly ball to center field, and it's an easy play for Al Bunbury. And that's that in the 8th. No runs, 1 hit, lead 1. The Americans coming up in the 9th. The Nationals trying to make it 9 straight, leading 4-2.
Here's to good friends.
You did it. You bought the place.
And Ricky Henderson of the A's takes outside. 1-0. Ricky Henderson, part of a good young outfield with Dwayne Murphy and Tony Armas. Looks at a strike. 1-1. Buddy Bell waiting on deck. So the American League winless in 71 and trailing 4-2 in the 9th inning, facing Bruce Sutter of the Cubs. Bouncer fielded in fair territory by Knight, and Ray guns him down. 1 away.
This has to be pretty bitter for the American League.
Buddy Bell coming up. McPhail's going to owe Feeney another drink the way things are going. The two league presidents. A strike. 0-1. Half swing, grounder, foul. And the count, 0-2. Bobby Grich on deck. Bruce Sutter, winner in 78, winner in 79, and trying to be the saver in 80. Jerry Royce, the pitcher of record for the National League. Tommy John for the American. 0-2 the count.
I don't know whether that's California or Texas.
Nah, that's California.
Or Colorado, where the hats have become a major factor.
Grounded to short. Concepcion able to get him with some help from Hernandez. So 2 away in the 9th inning. Sutter has retired the 5 men he has faced, making it look easy as Bobby Grich comes up to try to keep it alive. And if he can, we would see Lance Parrish next.
Interesting to come down to the final inning and find you've got Henderson, Bell, and Grich.
Well, both managers, Al, have used their rosters as well as they figured they could. They've got Orta left for the American League and Jose Cruz for the National League of the regulars.
The 2-0. High, ball 3. 3-0 on Grich.
Skyline has a golden tinge now, and so has the National League.
Ball 4. So the Americans are still alive as Grich walks with 2 down in the 9th inning. And Lance Parrish of the Tigers comes up for the first time.
Well, he's got the power. 11 homers, 47 ribbies.
But facing a very tough man to hit one out against.
He does get you to hit it down, doesn't he?
1-0.
You look for a little key, maybe a little edge to Parrish that might help him along the line, but you really can't figure it as far as spring training would be concerned. You're starting in 2 different leagues to start with. The Tigers train in Lakeland, Florida, and the Cubs are over in Arizona.
1-1 the count. Sutter trying to put this one away for Jerry Royce. Two and 1. Carter digging it out. Sutter saving 8 in his last 11 appearances. Bruce this season, by the way, has given up only 2 home runs in 51 innings of work.
Not a bad fortnight's work for Royce. A no-hitter, possibly the winner here. Might even get the MVP. Struck out the side in one of the innings he worked.
2 and 2, and that one got John Kibler, the plate umpire.
Takes some guts back there, I'll tell you.
John's all right. Veteran National League umpire. He's been whacked around before. Gary Carter checking with him.
Ball 3.
Little stirring now.
Each team with 7 hits. The 2 American League errors, both committed by Randolph. 4-2 National. Grich will go from first with a pitch, and he gets him swinging. So the beat goes on and on and on. 9 straight. 17 of 18. The National League does it again. Well, we'll find out who the All-Star Game MVP is when we come back, and we'll return to Dodger Stadium after this commercial and a word from our local station.
7 hits and no errors for the American League.
At one time, imported oil was no problem to America. Today, we import over 40% of our oil. If supplies are ever cut off again, it could affect your driving, your heating, your job. Texaco believes conservation must be increased, alternate energy sources developed, exploration and production stepped up, because none of us want to be caught over a barrel. At Texaco, we're working to keep your trust.
We fill your days with song, capture memories, we make you smile. GE, we bring good things to life.
At GE, we're in the business of making life a little better, and that's a pretty nice business to be in.
We bring you closer to the ones you love. GE, we bring good things to live in, we bring good things to life. GE.
ABC News takes the floor with unique coverage of the Republican Convention Monday, July 14th.
Right now, Braniff will match Delta, American, or Texas International fares to anywhere in the West. Now let them match our service.
Braniff is doing everything to make the recession more bearable, from cutting fares to adding a little brandy to your coffee.
In order to show you how much better Braniff service can be, our president has authorized us to honor any lower fare on Delta, American, or Texas International to anywhere in the West. You lucky devils, you.
KVUE-TV, Channel 24, Austin.
Line score, the National League winning it 4 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. The American League 2 runs, 7 hits, and 2 errors.
Direct your attention
Jerry
to the
Royce wins it.
box of the
Tommy John, the loser. Let's go down to Bob Ueker.
Thank you very much, Al. And for the presentation, the most valuable player of this 1980 All-Star Game, the Commissioner of Baseball, Mr. Bowie Kuhn.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted on behalf of professional baseball to make a presentation of the Commissioner's Award to this year's 1980 Most Valuable Player for a great offensive performance in this All-Star Game to Mr. Ken Griffey of the Cincinnati Reds. I guess I ought to give it to you. That's great.
Thank you very much.
That's great. You want to talk?
Kenny, a very important ball game. It's getting to be old hat now. 9 in a row for the National